Right, welcome back, learners. Now let us look at activity 1, solutions. Remember, we are still on animal production. Right, the pictures alongside indicate two different pig production systems. Identify the two production systems shown in pictures A and B for 2 marks. Identify the production systems shown in pictures A and B for 2 marks. So we are not expecting you to just provide us with just one answer, no. For 2 marks, you write 2 answers, meaning picture 1, this is the production system. Picture B, this is the production system. Picture A, production system. Picture B, production system, right? Right, now let us move. Right, for picture A, we have the intensive production system. Right, as we all know, large number of farm animals, the environment is modified. Right, you use those factors to consider whether this is an intensive or an extensive. Right, for picture B, we have extensive production system. Now 1.3, compare the production systems based on the following method of feeding. Right, we have already discussed various factors that contribute or various factors that are used to maximize production, right? You know how nutrition works between extensive and intensive, right? For picture A, feed or feeding is provided or feed is provided. A balanced feed is provided just to meet the requirements for farm animals, right? For picture B, animals look for food. Animals will have to look for food. If it is cattle, we're going to say animals graze on natural pastures. Space per production output. Right? Picture A, more production in a small area, while picture B, less production in a larger area. Number 2 of our activity 1. The table alongside shows the feeding and temperature requirements for broilers at different stages of growth. Identify the main nutrient for broilers of all age groups. That is protein, right? As you can see, protein is there in young or for those between 0 and 1. Those between 1 and 2, protein is still there. 3 and 4, protein is still there. And then 5 or above those 5 weeks, protein is there. So the main nutrient for broilers of all age group, it is protein. They need more protein and sufficient fats and carbohydrates. Indicate the importance of the nutrient in question 2.1 for broilers. Right? Firstly, building tissues or new tissues. Right? Secondly, for growth. Right? Thirdly, for production, meat production to be specific. Right? For repairing worn out tissues. So we need to also to add those functions. Not only to build, but also to repair the worn out tissues. And it is also necessary for meat production. Remember, broilers are chickens that are raised for meat or to produce meat. Right, 2.3. Deduce the relationship between the protein level of the feed, temperature requirements, and the age of the broilers for 3 marks. The relationship between the protein level, temperature requirements, and the age of broilers. Now, when answering this question, just to be on the safe side, just start with the age of broilers and follow with maybe protein or temperature. Now, the younger the broilers, the higher the protein and the higher the temperature. Young broilers need more protein and high temperature. But the older the broilers, the lower the protein and the lower the temperature. Now, how do we come to this conclusion? When we look right here, let us look at the level of protein. For broilers between 0 and 1, they needed about 23% of protein. But the more they grow or develop, the level of protein decreases. It becomes lesser and lesser, right? Of which is a proof that younger animals or younger broilers need more protein, while older broilers need less protein. Less, we are not saying it has to be insufficient. It has to be sufficient. It has to be enough at the end of the day, right? When it comes to temperature, those between 0 and 1, they needed about 32 to 35 degrees Celsius of temperature. But between 1 and 2, they needed between 29 to 32 degrees Celsius. As the broilers grow or develop, the temperature decreases. It becomes lesser and lesser. So this is how you conclude, right, on the relationship. So 1 mark for younger broilers. For high protein, 1 mark. And for high temperature, also 1 mark. 3 marks in total. Right? Number 3, the production system alongside is commonly used in rural communities. Identify the intensive production system or the intensive production system shown in the picture. And this will be the backyard. Now, how do we know it is a backyard and not a free range? Right here, there is a house. This house symbolizes that it is a house for humans or for farmers. So it cannot be the free range. So rather, a backyard production system. Now 3.2, name 3 advantages of the system above. Right, firstly, it is less expensive. Secondly, it is more environmentally friendly. And another one, it is very easy to manage. 3.3, state 3 problems that could be associated with this production system. We are looking for the disadvantages, right? First problem, animals are very easy to get into contact with the diseases or be infected by the diseases. Remember, I said initially there is underfeeding, or underfeeding may occur or take place. Less nutrients may be received by the farm animals or the chickens. Animals are more exposed to predators during the day. Remember, they are allowed to roam freely during the day, but at night they confide in shelters. So they are more exposed to predators or towards predators. More feed energy is utilized for non-production purposes. So these are the problems encountered or the disadvantages of using the backyard production system when raising chickens. Now let us carry on with our animal production. Now, for animals raised under intensive production system, it's very important to modify the environment or to provide a shelter. Now, how do we define a shelter? A structure that provides protection for farm animals and maintains a constant temperature. Shelter is there to regulate the temperature of farm animals. What is the importance of shelter? Remember, it is to provide protection. Protect against extreme weather conditions when the temperature is too low or the temperature is too high. As much as we all know that animals are homeothermic, but it is very important for them to be protected. Right? Number 2, protect animals against theft and predators. Predators, animals that feed on other farm animals. right? It also plays a role in handling when milking or shearing or whatever raising or management practices. So these are the importance of shelter or shelters. Now, understand that animals are homeothermic. They are able to regulate their body temperature, meaning at all times, their body temperature is always higher than that of the environment. But that doesn't mean that they will never be negatively affected by extreme weather conditions like high temperatures or low temperatures or cold and heat. They will be affected. Once they are affected, they will suffer from what is known as hyperthermia, or they will suffer from what is known as the hypothermia. So once the farm animals suffer from hyperthermia or hypothermia, the production will be negatively affected. Now, what is the negative effect of heat stress or hyperthermia? Now, hyperthermia, it occurs when the temperature is high or when the body temperature is higher than the normal, when there is an increase in body temperature due to the fact that the high temperature in the environment has already increased or it has increased. Now, animals under hyperthermia, they will face the following. Firstly, the loss of appetite. They will not be able to eat. As a result, less nutrients will go towards production. Decreased production will be formed, right? Firstly, or another thing, the pigs, when experiencing the hyperthermia, they will wallow in the mud. There will be an increased thirst, right? Increased breeding in other farm animals. So those are the signs that animals are experiencing a condition called hyperthermia due to high temperatures. Now, when facing the hypothermia, where the body temperature is lower than that or is lower than normal, the farm animals will tend to eat more, consume more feed, and at the end of the day, more nutrients will go towards temperature regulation and less will go towards production. So very less of products will be produced when animals are faced with cold stress or hypothermia. Now, what will be the signs that will be shown by animals facing hypothermia? They will be in groups, right? They will be in groups, right? They will feel cold. So these are the effects of cold stress and heat stress in farm animals. Now, farm animals lose temperature or heat in different ways. Remember, we said as much as they are homeothermic, they may suffer from hyperthermia or hypothermia. Now, how do farm animals lose body heat? They lose body heat in different ways or different processes. First one being the convection, where it involves the upward movement of warm air and the downward movement of cold air. Right? Another one, it is radiation. Heat is lost through radiation. Loss of heat that radiates from a warm body into the cold surrounding atmosphere. Right? Another one is excretion. It is very common, where it involves the loss of heat when urine and feces are taken out or ingested. Right? Another one, conduction. Loss of heat when an animal's body is in contact with a cold surface area. Right? The last one is evaporation. Loss of heat when sweat dries or changes state from being a liquid into a gas, where sweat dries out on the skin. So this is how farm animal loses heat through various processes. Now, there are various shelters that are used under intensive production system to protect against extreme weather conditions or predators. Now, shelters that are used, firstly, we have feed shed. Feed shed is used to store feed for farm animals, not to protect farm animals, but to store feed for farm animals, right? Another one, holding shed. It is there to keep animals for a short period of time before transportation, maybe for 3 to 4 days before before transportation, right? Another one, we have a feedlot where animals are fattened, milking parlor where animals are milled. What are the requirements? You're expected to know the requirements of building a shelter, especially for chickens. Now, requirements for shelter. Orientation of the house is very important. It must be east and west to protect the direct sunlight or to protect animals from the direct sunlight, right? The floor must be of concrete. The shelter must have enough space, ensure sufficient ventilation, ensure efficient waste removal, is the access of food and water. So these are the requirements that are required. These are the requirements of building a shelter, especially for chickens or broilers. Now, when raising farm animals, these are also requirements. These are also equipments that are required. Firstly, we need the feeders for chickens. We need the feed trough for large farm animals, the hay rack for ruminants. Right? We also need the drinkers that provide water. For chickens and pigs or piglets, we need nipple drinkers. For chickens, we need hangers or hang drinkers. Right? We need water trough for large farm animals. Right, inside the shelter, we also require what is known as a bedding. We need infrared lights to regulate the temperature. We need heaters also to regulate the temperature. Now, infrared lights and heaters, they are more needed when the temperature is low, when animals are experiencing hypothermia or the cold stress. But when animals are experiencing the hypothermia, air conditioners are required, or windows that will ensure enough ventilation, oxygen coming in and carbon dioxide exiting the shelter. Now, what are the requirements of a building or a bedding that must be inside the shelter? Right? A bedding that acts as an insulator must be lighter in weight. It must be highly absorbent, produces minimal dust, dries rapidly. It must be soft and compressible. It must absorb a minimal atmospheric moisture. So these are the requirements of a bedding. So that is why when forming a bedding, we use the sawdust, we may use the straw or the wood shavings. Animal handling. When do you get to touch your farm animals? Because you cannot wake up one day or today and say, I feel like touching my farm animals. It doesn't work like that. When handling the farm animals, there must be a reason. And also, when raising them or when handling them, please take note of the following. The 3 important things. Firstly, it is the blind spot. a spot out of animals' front line of vision, where animals cannot see. Once you approach them in their blind spot, they cannot see you. Be mindful of their blind spot. Secondly, the flight zone, a distance that a farm animal likes to keep between themselves and a threat of danger. Once farm animals see you as a danger or threat, they will respond and they will run away or they will be aggressive. Right? Another one, the point of balance that is parallel to or that is next to the shoulders or next to the shoulders or around the shoulders. Understand that when standing behind the point of balance, the animal will move forward, and at the front of the point of balance, the animal will move backward. So these are the three things you need to take note of when handling the farm animals. Now, what are the reasons of handling farm animals? When do you get to touch? When do you get to touch or assist your farm animals? Right? Firstly, administering of medication. During artificial insemination or embryo transfer or nuclear transfer, during slaughtering, right? During management program, dehoning, castration, docking, crutching, during transportation, and during the production purposes like milking. What are the guidelines of handling farm animals? Announce your approach by touch. Talk softly, do not shout. Use handling facilities when handling farm animals. Crush and neck clamp. Be cautious of animals with one eye. Do not approach animals from the back in their blind arm spot. Separate animals or segregate animals according to size, gender, and age. And when handling farm animals such as chickens, carry them with their legs. Sheep and goats use their joints on their hind legs. Right? For pigs, use a plywood board to block their sight. And for large animals such as cattle, you use the neck clamp or you can use the crush. Now, these are the handling facilities that are used to handle the farm animals. Firstly, we have the crush that is used during the handling when administering medication. When handling farm animals, use a crush that is wide, high, solid sides with no sharp object. Holding pen is used to store farm animals for a short period of time before handling them, not during the handling process. Neck clamp is used to restrain the farm animals during the handling process. And this neck clamp right here is joined to a crush. A crush being a facility used during the handling process. Now, there are various tools that are used when handling farm animals. Firstly, the berizo. It is used to castrate older animals and it is a bloodless tool. Illustrator, to castrate young farm animals. It is also a bloodless tool. A dosing gun, used to administer a large amount of liquid, whether during the controlling of internal parasites, right, or administering of deworm and thelmintics. Right, another tools, a knife used to castrate farm animals, and it is a blood tool used especially for older animals. Right, a prodder, an electric shock that is used to control movements of farm animals, ear tag plier to plug the ear tags in farm animals, dehoning iron for hone removal. So these are some of the tools that are used during handling of farm animals. Now, what will be the effect of handling farm animals? Let's just say you do not talk softly, you approach them from the back or in their blind spot. Firstly, animals will respond aggressively. They will be plucking, right? The removal of feathers in chickens. They will be pecking. The chickens will start pecking you. They will bite you. Animals will be stressed. And once an animal is stressed, adrenaline will be secreted, right? Animals will be injured, right? There will also be a delayed rigor mortis, the stiffening of muscles that occurs immediately after slaughter. So these will be the negative effects of poor handling or incorrect handling of farm animals. Now let us move to our second activity of the day, and then I'll give you 4 minutes for this one, and then I'll come back for more solutions. Right, welcome back, learners. Now let us look at our second activity of the day. Below are different ways in which animals behave under distress or when or during the poor handling, right? When they are being handled incorrectly. A, wallow in the mud to cool down. When the temperature is high, there will be peaks. Ploughing the ground when aggressive, there will be cattle. Pecking on all objects on the ground as possible food, there will be chickens. Stay closer together while grazing or being headed, and that will be sheep. So these are different behaviors that are shown by animals in different ways under different circumstances. Now let us continue. The guidelines for transportation. Once you are done handling for your farm animals or raising your farm animals, they will have to be transported, moving from one farm to another, or from point A to point B. Now, there are guidelines of transporting farm animals, and you should be able to write at least 3 of these guidelines or 4 of these guidelines. Prepare yourself, right? Firstly, a permit is required. A permit with the owner's details, number of animals that are transported, the type of animals that will be transported, right? The destination, right? The driver's license is also required as an important documentation, right? When loading the farm animals, use a loading ramp. Now, a loading ramp is a bit steep. It is connected to a crush that will direct the movement into a truck that will carry the farm animals. Do not transport when roads are busy because more accidents may occur, right? Remember, you are carrying an abnormal load. Truck must not be slippery, for this will injure the farm animals or cause stress in farm animals. And remember, when they are stressed, more adrenaline will be secreted. Do not feed animals 12 hours before departure, right? Use red flags when transporting the farm animals, one at the front of the truck and the other one at the back of the truck. Do not transport cattle, sheep, goats, and chickens together. Always segregate animals according to size, gender, and the species, right? Truck must be well ventilated. There must be enough oxygen in the truck, meaning it must ensure sufficient ventilation, oxygen coming out and carbon dioxide exiting the truck. So these are the guidelines for transportation. Now let us go into our last activity of the day, of which is activity 3, and then I'll come back for more remedials. Now, welcome back, learners, to our third activity of the day. Now, let us look at our activity 3, solutions. The pictures alongside show facilities or equipment used in an animal production system. 1.1, identify the facility or equipment in picture B and picture D. Now, picture B will be the furrowing pen. Picture D will be the nipple drinker, not just any drinker, but the nipple drinker. Remember, drinkers are different. Hangers are also drinkers, but they are different from the nipple drinkers. State the importance of using the facility labeled A in picture C. A in picture C. Now, picture A, we all know it is in a clamp and it is used to restrain farm animals during the handling process. Remember, during the handling process. 1.3, indicate 2 design features of the facility labeled B in picture C. Now, a crush, it has to be wide, high, strong, and solid sides with no sharp object. So these are the design features or the requirements of handling facility B when handling farm animals. 2.1, name 2 signs of distress in pigs. Right? Tail biting, ear biting, cannibalism, they feed on other pigs or piglets, belly nibbling, and snout rubbing. 2.2, incorrect handling of animals during transportation can have effect on animals and their product. Justify this statement with 2 effects, right? Effect number 1, animals will be injured. Secondly, there will be a delayed rigor mortis, of which is the stiffening of muscles. There will be poor quality of meat. Now, learners, this will be your homework, right? We'll check this and do our activity when we come back on our next lesson, if possible, right? And then today we have covered or we revised on animal production, and we touched more on animal production systems, extensive and intensive. And we also looked at the different or various farming systems, subsistence and commercial farming system. We also looked at the importance of shelters, the effect of heat and cold stress, hypothermia and hypothermia, various losses of heat conduction, convection, radiation, excretion, right? Different handling facilities and tools used when handling or during handling, right? Guidelines of transportation. Now, on our next lesson will be based on, remember, we're still on revision. It will be based on animal reproduction, your question 4, right? Where we'll be looking at the male and female reproductive system, factors causing infertility and sterility, oestrus cycle, synchronization, and it will also include artificial insemination as one of the artificial matings. So, learners, we have come to the end of our lesson. Do not forget what we have said or what I've been saying. For you to yield greater results, you need to study, 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 and please be reminded that 19 June 2025, you'll be writing your agricultural sciences, of which will be on Thursday. Stay blessed.